Yeah, I completely agree. I think I've covered the main functionality. I just want it to be simple. So the user should click on the chain, the day, which is just a 24-hour period, and then we need to have an input pop up. They just provide the name, then they provide the category and the amount of time. Doesn't need to be in that order. And I'm not sure exactly how I want that input to happen. I'm doing a lot of speech to text right now. So, and I'm liking that, but I think we also need to account for typing. And then once that's set up, the chain has a new link in it, I guess, or a new block. And it represents the proportionate amount of space for the amount of time that it's taken up. So if it's an hour, it's 1/24th of the length of the chain. And, in some ways, I feel like I want to see this in vertical rows where like Monday is vertical, Tuesday is a I guess vertical rows have a name. They're called columns. I was thinking about columns. Every day is a column. But it could also be that every day is a row. That would work better with the tape head or like playhead analogy. And it might make things a little bit easier in terms of looking at your week. I'm not sure. Maybe this is an option and something that we also need to prototype and try out. I'm not sure if we need like a Git branch for every single one of those. Maybe we do. That's up to you. I just want to be able to jump into a playground on the server and uh, start moving things around and testing out the mechanics of this thing. So I think you're right. That is the bread and butter. That is what we're really trying to solve for. Anyway, no need to get to it just yet. Let's nail down the basic resize, drag, copy interactions that you mentioned. Mm. Can you drink beer on YouTube? Asking for a friend. I think I can start a new prompt tab here. Whoa, 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 whoa. Just calm down. Calm down, TextMate. Okay, I don't need you to search at all. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. My goodness. It's tough. That is tough to get used to, TextMate. That new tab thing is really annoying. Okay, we're gonna drop this down. Open this up a little bit. All right, what are we talking about? Okay. Chain is always 24 hours. Every minute is accounted for. No gaps. So resizing is zero sum. When one block grows, something else must shrink. Yes. I also want like, okay. So this is my flow. What I like to do is I read what Claude gives back to me, and then I respond to it in real time in TextMate right here. And then I record my response. This way I can like circle back on things, copy paste, fix the reply, and I don't actually press enter, which I do all the time. Okay, so let's see. Okay, one thing I also want in here is like there needs to be flex time in a day where, for example, I want to be able to be not planning my day from around 10 p.m. till around 9 a.m. And in that time, I would love to sleep. That would be really nice. But I don't necessarily know exactly what time I'm going to go to sleep. And I'm not going to go to the web and click some app and be like, okay, I'm sleeping starting right now. That's not going to happen. So, what will happen in this is that we're going to have part of the chain being allocated for some kind of flex time. And flex tasks can sort of float around in that chain and they don't really need to be that defined. I'm not even sure if they need to be tracked yet. We'll figure that out. Okay, so then what do we see? Drag the divider between two adjacent blocks. One gets bigger, one gets smaller. Okay, when you're talking about the interaction of dragging the divider between two adjacent blocks, one gets bigger, the other gets smaller. This completely depends on the properties of each block. So it's not really a divider between the two blocks that resizes them. Blocks are resized based on the time that we've specified for the block. Like it's kind of cool to think about the idea of grabbing one and saying, okay, I'm going to work out for 45 minutes and I'm going to eat lunch for 45 minutes, which is a total of an hour and a half. But then I end up feeling really hungry and I only want to work out for half an hour. So I grab the slider between workout and lunch. I drag it up so that now workout is half an hour and that gives me an extra 15 minutes, making my lunch an hour and the total still 90 minutes. However, that's just one use case. And let's say I've made it so that my lunch is always rigid, so that the block size is always a certain size. In that case, then what we need is for lunch to stay in the same size, and the next resizable block, whatever it is, grows. Um, we could also potentially have blocks that are fixed in place so that they happen every day at that time. And if, let's say, for example, my lunch is at noon every day and my workout is always not always, but my workout is scheduled for 11:15 to noon. And then I'm like, I'm only going to work out for half an hour today because for whatever reason. So I resize the workout block to be half an hour and I'm resizing it from the direction of lunch, meaning I'm leaving a 15-minute gap between the workout and lunch. If lunch is fixed, then I don't want to make any confusion. I just think that that opens it up to be like a flexible time. It's like a little bit of breathing room or something like that. And, I think we should reward people for breathing room and balance and flexibility in their schedules. There's no need to be like psychotically marking every little bit of time. But what we do want to do is just kind of like get visibility in our days. Yeah, that's a lot for it to think about. Yeah, I mean, that question is a great question, the key question. Do blocks keep its duration? And I think a lot of this comes down to like the order in which we define the properties of each block. So is the time position fixed? And by that I mean the time of day that it occurs. Is that fixed? It's always at noon. Is the length fixed? I can imagine a scenario where something has to start at noon, but it may be a different amount of time every day, like um, going for a run or eating lunch or whatever. Maybe it's 15 minutes one day, maybe it's half an hour another day. So that's two different properties. Another one is whether or not the amount of time is fixed. Maybe you always want to work out and it always has to be an hour, but it could be at other parts of the day. And I guess another thing that we could think about would be uh, a property that allows that block to expand into other time if there's room or not. And I can see two options for this. Like it could expand backwards in time or it could expand forwards in time. So for example, if my workout starts at 11:15 and I've scheduled it for 45 minutes and my lunch starts at noon, but then I decide my workout is only going to be half an hour today and I've set lunch to be fixed at noon, I think nothing would happen. If I allow it to expand forward in time, then also nothing would happen within this specific space, the space between 11:45 and 12. But if I allow lunch to expand backwards in time and there's more room, then my lunch could start at 11:45. That was weird. That's super weird. I think I need to use hands-free mode a little bit more with Whisper. I tend to talk a lot and I'm literally getting a sore thumb from this thing. Okay, so let's read the next stuff. So alt drag duplicates a block and drops the copy somewhere, same chain or different chain. Copying adds time. If I copy a 1 hour block into a chain that's fully allocated, 1 hour has to come from somewhere. Which blocks give up that hour? Same question as overflow, basically. The shrinkable blocks absorb it. Yeah, so I think the question with the problem on copy alt drag is a great question. And I think there's a couple of approaches that I really want to test with you in our variations. So one of them is we just let people program over. Like you can program a 36-hour day, but it wouldn't track the whole 36-hour day. So maybe it wouldn't work or something. And then you'd have to like do some shuffling. Like maybe there's a little bit of like a encouragement to work within the container of 24 hours. Another way for us to do it is that you just simply can't add anything if the 24-hour max is released, and you would have to delete something before bringing something in. I think my initial view on this was to make it so that I could like type lunch and then just like alt drag it across like 5 days a week or something like that, and then leave weekends open. But I could also imagine saying like focus time, and that's from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and then it's also from 1 to 2:30 p.m. So I don't know exactly what's up with that yet. Okay, hot swap chains drop a block from Monday to Wednesday. Monday loses that block's time. Wednesday gains it. Yeah, that's right. We're just moving a block. So it's like Monday loses a block. I'm not sure if the gaps have to fill in or not. Again, that's dependent on the properties of the adjacent blocks, if there are any. Maybe there aren't any. Um, and maybe the default state of this whole thing is like flexible time. And we can have two different task types. One is like a rigid task that exists within a time block, and the other one is like floating tasks that are like flexible. That might be too soft and weird, but it's something to consider. Um, but regardless, if I decide that I'm going to go see like my physiotherapist on Monday, and then I get a meeting booked on that time, I'm going to just want to pull that appointment from Monday to say Wednesday. And that's a specific time allotment, like the amount of time is fixed for that appointment. Maybe it goes to a different time in the calendar. And Wednesday is going to have to deal with it. And maybe if the Wednesday's full, then what happens is I'm dragging it on top of another thing, and I get an option like replace, and it just deletes what I'm dropping it onto and replaces it with its own thing. Maybe it swaps it. So the physio appointment goes in, and then the appointment that it was replacing gets like pulled up to the mouse for me to drag and place somewhere else. Um, yep. I think that's what's going on. And so, yeah, the big pattern that you see is that there needs to be a consistent rule for how space is reclaimed when time is added or removed from a chain. But actually, that's not quite correct. What is correct is that there needs to be consistent rules for how space is reclaimed when time is added or removed from a chain, because the blocks have inherently different properties, and those will make all the difference in the behavior of the chain. Okay, one thing I would like definitely want to do in this stream is think about placing bets on this little context window here. I have built a reporting system into Claude so that I know how much context, how many tokens I'm spending out of the total context window, so that I can wrap up a session cleanly before blowing it and starting to drift. So as I go through this and I like start to add these huge replies, um, I get to see how much one of these replies spends. And one of the ways that you can think about optimizing is, Claude just asked me a bunch of questions and I'm giving it a bunch of answers, but I'm also unpacking concepts with those answers. So maybe if, let's say, the context window from here jumps to like 180K, that could be a huge issue for me. So what I might do is tell Claude that if it's going to ask me questions, that it needs to add those questions to a document that persists across sessions. And then we answer one of them. And then the answer goes into that document. And I see how it does on the context window. And we do that on, and we watch how much tokens are spent. And then we can refresh at a certain state. One of the things that I've learned over the past like 4 days is that this refresh on the context window is critical. And the way that you transfer knowledge from session to session is critical. I'm going to have to do a whole video on it at some point, like maybe like a lot of videos forever on this, because it's such an important process. But I'll start just by piecing it together like a little bit. I should probably also describe what I'm doing in the video description. Okay, so actually that was very small, 52K up from 44. I'm really surprised. That's amazing. Okay, so flex time changes everything. Yeah. It starts at 100% flex time, menu card blocks into it. Yeah, like not everybody's a psycho, dude. Like, oh yeah, okay, let me provide my feedback live to Claude and start going here. So flex time changes everything. Chain isn't fully packed task to task. You carve blocks into it. Gaps beneath blocks aren't errors, they're breathing room. This is a much more humane model than every second is accounted for. 100%, bro. The flex time is essential. This is an app made by a human and you, an LLM agent thing, but it's probably mostly going to be used by humans, at least for a little bit. So, yeah, let's keep it honest, useful, humble, real, and not try to enforce some kind of worldview or protocol onto people because they engage with this app. Let's have this app serve them in their lives. And we will continually start to build a vision for this app that will be iterative and incremental, but we'll work on it together. So I want to make sure that out of the next step here, you are adding to the vision doc. I need you to confirm that there is a vision doc. And I want to read the sort of like vision and mission statement on this app as it stands so far. And then I'll continue providing you feedback. Time position. Fixed. Duration fixed. Shrinkable versus static. Okay, just to make sure I'm clear, when we talk about 5 independent block properties, time position fixed, duration fixed, and then we have shrinkable versus static. Well, shrinkable versus static is dependent on whether or not the duration is fixed. And it's also dependent on expanding forward or expanding backwards. And it's not necessarily just expanding into flex time or expanding like backward or forward. It's potentially expanding into other blocks that have flexibility built into them. So maybe it's not just expand forward or expand backwards, but it is a range of flexibility that is being defined block by block. Is it flexible forward? Is it flexible backwards? By how much? So in that case, if I want to say my lunch can expand backwards by up to 15 minutes, but I cancel my workout altogether, well, the lunch goes from noon to 1 and it expands backwards to 11:45 to 1, but it wouldn't expand back all the way to 11:15. So it's not necessarily about into flex time or after. It's about the relationship between all of the block properties. And time position fixed is a toggle. It would be, it either is time position fixed or it is not time position fixed. So what that means in our example about workout and lunch is if lunch is not time position fixed, but it's set to start at noon, and then the workout is longer, I actually work out for an hour instead of 45 minutes. So I work out from 11:15 to 12:15, then it would bump lunch ahead, but it would preserve the duration if duration fixed is on. Duration fixed may not be on. Maybe it allows it to be flexible on the way in. So I'm not sure if this is like deeply overcomplicating it. It kind of feels like it is, but that's okay. We're going to figure out a way to make this intuitive and easy, but these are the behaviors that I'm talking about. And I think now you're starting to get a better picture of like how all the properties of these blocks affect each other in this chain. So it's possible that if you start to change the size of one, it leads to a relatively complex shuffling and resizing of everything within that day. That's definitely why we're not going beyond the day and we're just like sticking to days for right now. Okay, cool. I mean, this is fun. Honestly, it's super fun. Hmm. Okay. Let's see. Um, mm, hmm, interesting. Oh yeah, I didn't know this before. This is crazy. This actually just speaks to how much of an idiot I am, but like I didn't know that when it writes a document like this that the red text is what it's deleting and the green back not the red text, the red background text is what it's deleting and the green background text is what it is replacing it with or what's in there right now. So it's really important to like go through and read these things. Uh, okay, building for myself and also for my sister. It's like really cute. Okay, mission. This app serves people in their lives. Hmm. It's okay. This is okay. Let's start providing some feedback here because it's a little generic. Um, okay. Let's update this app serves people in their lives to something just a little more descriptive of what it is. This app provides people with a way to forecast and plan their daily activities, to see how they time that they spend on activities impacts the other activities they've planned, and to provide a little bit of data visualization to their overall tasks and task management. Let's try to like update it's honest, useful, humble, and real in the sense of like it's honest, useful, and humble makes sense to me in the sense that it's honest about yeah, we just what we need to do is make the that statement more explicit. So let me try again. This app is honest about the intentions and actions of human beings not always matching. This app is useful in that it provides utility to people that want to visualize the day and the week and their activities and the ratios of those activities. It is humble in the sense that it does not try to force people to track every waking minute or submit to some kind of ideological structure. And when I say it's real, what I mean is it's realistic about its expectations of people, which to be honest is kind of the same as the honest one. So don't know if we need to keep that all, but I think we should just tighten up the vision statement a little bit. Okay, this week is 7 discrete chains. Okay, not great. Each chain is independently subdivided. Good. Yep. Block properties are interdependent. They affect each other. A block's behavior is the result of how all of its properties interact with the properties of its neighbor. Changing one block can cause complex shuffling and resizing. Uh, of everything in the chain. This is why the scope of individual days The chain is the container and the physics happen within it. Yeah. Um, does this block always occur at specific time of day? Example, lunch. Time position fixed. So so under time position fixed, you say, does this block always occur at a specific time of day? Question mark. I feel like you are just dumping in exactly what I said without actually understanding what I'm saying. Rules should not be questions. We don't need to say time position fixed does this. Time position fixed is a property that exists within the block. It either is fixed or it is not fixed. When we write these rules, we need to write rules that are explicit, they are clear, and they do not require answering a question or like that or uh, like previous context around the project. So please write that in a much more prescriptive and literal way. I don't think I said that right. It's like, it's not that they don't need to answer a question. It's not that they, like, you could ask a question. Like, it's like, does the user want the time position to be fixed? But that definition is like a recursive definition, so it doesn't even necessarily make sense. Yeah. Um, I want I've spent so much time today telling Claude how to write rules that I need a document about how it should write rules so it can always refer to that. And then I need to remind myself to tell Claude that it needs a document to always like write rules. And I need to remember where that document is. So I need to look at projects, project structure and token optimization. So we have that. Design principles. Yeah. Okay. I wonder if I can show everybody this. So this is a document that I built, or I had Claude built around multi-project structure and token optimization. And I need to remove TextMate here a little bit. So I'm going to have Claude create something like this again that shows how I want projects to be structured, what we do in sessions, how things work, what the life cycle of a session is, what the design principles are. And this is something that I want it to refer to me and something that I want it to refer to itself. So we work on this document together. I find it like extremely useful for making the concept clear. So I'm going to remind myself to create another project structure explainer, but for how to write rules. And I'm just going to pop that into my TextMate. It's kind of like my soulmate. Yeah, this might need to be another thing. Later in this session, after wrapping up, I want to have Claude create a document similar to project structure explainer.html, but for how to write rules and how to write rules that are explicit in our product documentation. Okay, back to this. Keep reading. It's so crazy how we've brought interface design into language right at our fingertips. And in order to design now, I just read. Just read and correct a zillion documents. It's crazy. Okay. Well, so it is. Okay. If type position is not fixed, the block can be bumped by neighbors. Example, workout is 11:15. Yeah. Workout runs. Yeah. Okay. So sure. Um, okay, I see that you are using the examples that I provided in the block properties. I think that's good, but at a certain point, we need to move beyond the examples and actually like write it out as explicit rules. So I want them to be less dependent on the example and more dependent on defining properties. I also need to like learn how to end a sentence because I like say the end of the sentence, but it's not, doesn't sound like I'm saying the end of the sentence at all. Okay. Is the length always the same? A block name? Yeah. Well, yeah. So all of these are questions, which is probably because I did it wrong. Like I asked questions. Okay. So let's read, expand forward. Can other blocks overflow, reduce this blocks? Static blocks are protected and should never shrink from overflow. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So it's writing exactly what I said, but I'm not happy with that because it's a lot of data. Okay, I think you've done a good job of capturing what I said in the examples that I've given, but I want to translate those into tighter, more clearly defined rules that don't necessarily require examples, but instead define the block properties. And they should be consistent. The behavior, the outcome, and the logic should be consistent with the examples I provided, but I don't think we should rely on those examples for the property interaction. Do you? Tell me if you find it useful to do it this way, and then I'll stop criticizing it. But I'm just trying to make things as efficient and simple as possible. Just like your middle manager at work. Could you do this but like faster and for less money? Okay, task types. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Okay, what? No, that's not a task type. What are you talking about? Okay, for task types, I think you totally missed it. Task types are not whether or not you can drag the divider between two blocks, um, or like if a block is flexible. A task type is just a property that you define. So, for example, I might define both lunch and workout as health, but I also might just define lunch as a break and I might define workout as health. Those are different task types. Task is essentially a string input that allows data to be sent to a data visualization part of the app later for reporting. Just like how much time did you spend on health? How much time did you spend on sleep? How much time did you spend on flex? How much time did you spend on work? How much time did you spend on playing video games? You know, and maybe if you're a gamer, uh, all your time is on video games, and you want to make the task types like RPGs, FPS, or maybe you just want to play Balatro, and it's like you're dividing the tasks between green stake, green deck, black deck, anal glyph, anal glyph deck. You know what I'm trying to say. It's not good to tell Claude that you know that it knows what you're trying to say. It doesn't know what you're trying to say. It doesn't know what I'm trying to say. Most humans don't know what I'm trying to say. Not their fault. Click a block. Click a block to start timing. No, it's got to be, it's not just click a block to start timing because what happens if you just click a block by accident? The block timer needs to have a button Or, holy shit, maybe the block timer doesn't have a button. It just starts at the time and it's synced up to your clock. Doesn't that make sense? That the time starts at what time it is? This is real science. This is actual science. Drag a block. Drag a block. If the destination chain is full and you drop a block on top of an existing block, yeah, these are like options. Yeah, exactly. All the things that it just said are correct. How prescriptive or helpful should the dashboard be? Listen, in the beginning, I don't want the dashboard to be prescriptive at all. I just want you to be able to uh, say whether or not you want to visualize a type. And it's just going to bring up like ratios per day, per week, percentages maybe. Maybe you can choose, show me the ratio of how much of my day this was. Was it a quarter? Was it a 30-second? Or percentage? Or total minutes, hours, whatever. Okay. And when we see serve the person. Okay. We already have serve the person up in the mission statement, and reward balance, that should probably go up in the mission statement. It makes a lot more sense. Uh-huh. Okay, let's give it a bunch of answers. Bam. Green, green steak. Nice, dude. It doesn't even know what I'm saying. Again, whisper flow, dude. Whisper flow needs better context recognition. That's what I'm saying. Okay, that's all good. So I'm really happy about this, and I think I'm going to show you guys a little bit more about my project folder structure. Maybe I should generate a report for that while this is happening, but I could show a little bit more about this document right here. So Claude loads Claude MD into every message's system prompt. Every line in that file costs token on every single exchange. This is pretty crazy to think about. So if you write a lot of instructions into Claude, you absolutely blast your budget. The original setup was 55 lines in the top level file, and most of that stuff wasn't needed. It's not that 55 lines is that big, it's just it doesn't need to be there. So this is what we did to work with it. Wow, look at how much it just deleted. It just deleted all of this based on what I wrote. Very good. We're always trying to slim down and minimize these things. So that's the goal. The file structure now is AI is my folder that I do all this stuff in. And I have a top level Claude MD that's always loaded. There is a minimal set of instructions within Claude MD that routes it to whatever project that I want it to work on. And it also understands how to create new projects. So, but that's not in Claude MD. It's just inside Claude MD, it says where to go if there's a new project template. So it's like, hey, welcome to your new session. And I get to say, oh, I want a new project. Then it goes to this and it will read it and it will lay out that project. Then I'll clear the cache and I'll start fresh on that project. If I have a bunch of projects in and I don't know which one I want to work on, or I forget the name, I can ask for a project's index, goes to this file, gets it out. This is cached because I don't want to make it think about it too hard. Deployment is later. This is when we just like bang it out to the server. Docs is just personal notes on like a high level that are not project specific, but they're Claude specific. And then I have a project. This one is Animal Robot. And within Animal Robot, there is Claude MD. Claude MD is its own Claude MD instructions that can be a lot more specific and tailored to this specific project. It only exists for Animal Robot. And then we have that for my other ones as well. So this helps things get a lot cleaner. And in fact, I've improved it since then. So I'm going to output this and maybe share it at some point. So, okay, let's get back to what Claude said. Okay. Rewritten mission, what the actually does, forecast plan daily activities, see impact of time allocation, data visualization. For qualities are now explicit statements, not vague labels. Yep. Replaced with balanced. That's nice. Okay, so we haven't really talked about how breathing room and flexibility would be rewarded at all, or like if there's a reward system. And maybe that's not necessary. It's just that I don't think the user should be punished for having breathing room and flexibility. Maybe we can create some kind of encouragement around that with some sort of like background that's pleasing for the chain or something like that. But maybe saying that they're rewarded is going a little bit too far right off the bat. Okay. The main thing is we actually have to like go and read all the rules again, but like look at how much slimmer it is. 34 lines versus 154 lines. This is the kind of thing that is optimal. This is what keeps this tight and what keeps our app tight. We are thinking hard and we're paying attention to these things in order to keep Claude controlled and keep the behavior expected. And it's hard because you have to read this and you have to think about it and you have to see where it's wrong. And that's annoying. It's not fun all the time, but it's very effective because if you go through this process a few times, you get really good at it, and then you create a prototype that works way faster than trying to like give it some vague details, and then you have a picture in your head that you haven't communicated to it, and then you spend the next few days grappling and wrestling with trying to nudge it there, but not really understanding what's under the hood or why certain things aren't working. This is what gives you control. This is what gives you perspective. And this is what gives you power while using Claude. You just got to read it all. Okay. App name. Daisy. Other candidates? Weak sauce. I kind of like weak sauce, to be honest, but maybe it's Daisy. Okay, when a block is active, it should be animated. Play headline, moving through the block, or should the block fill progressively or something else? We don't know. If every block is a chain, is static, and one overflows, something has to give. The app reflects reality. The tasks keep going, lean towards visual overflow app approach. Chain breaks, excess spills out, dead task visible on dashboard. Don't want to interrupt workflow. Yeah, resolved by prototyping. Yep. The playhead visual treatment is a bunch of questions, and that should also be resolved by prototyping. Please add a note. Local browser storage versus OpenStack backend with accounts. How far out can you plan? Does history persist forward? Need to decide scope. Yeah. Um, for data persistence model, let's revisit this later. We'll just work on the mechanics today. For now, we're going to just prototype 1 week and we don't need any data persistence. But I want you to be thinking about this so that the architecture of this program isn't cucked by these decisions later on. It needs to be scalable in the future. We're just keeping in mind that in order to explore the mechanics of this, for now, we will just work with like 1 week with non persistent data. Okay. Current role overflow propagates forward. Needs prototyping to confirm this feels right. Overflow will always have to propagate forward because you can't go backwards in time unless you've figured out a way to break Einstein's special relativity. Uh, okay, I like that. Two approaches to prototype allow over programming beyond 24. Yeah, hard cap at 24. Yeah. Uh, drop on occupied behavior and drag and block into occupied spot, replace, delete. Yeah, yeah, or both as options. Yeah. Do floating tasks have durations? Uh, yeah, so I don't know if floating tasks should have durations or not. I think they're just like labels in the flex time, and like I kind of want like something fun with them. Like, if you move your mouse over them, they like maybe gently nudge or like nudge out of the way, or if a block bumps up against one of them, they kind of like bounce around within the flex time. Um, I still want them to be readable, so they shouldn't move fast or far. But the idea is that they're just kind of like amorphous, floating things to keep in mind during the day. It's just flex time. And I don't know if it's bad if you don't do the things in flex time. That's kind of the point of flex time. It's like maybe it's like a different kind of task where it's like, it's all good if I don't get to it? Yeah, I mean, I think the timer should just be running all day. It's like the playhead is the time, and it's just there no matter what. Like if your calendar's empty, that playhead is the time. And so um I guess we need a different interaction between the playhead and the task timer, or like the block timer. And one interesting thing to consider is that like if you ever start a task, maybe the start of that block should be snapping to the time that you're starting that task. I think that's probably exactly what should happen, and I want to test that in the prototype. I don't know what you mean by what if blocks overlap the current time when first created. I kind of think, I don't know what that means. Okay, I just read through the full doc, and here are my replies. I'm going to need to eat a sandwich, everybody. I want to bring this into prototyping, so maybe I'll do that tonight. But I'm hungry. It's doing a pretty good job so far. I'm really happy with what's going on. I think I need to make my background more interesting. I need to make my face less interesting. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okie dokie. So good. The overflow rules say forward. That's consistent. Now let me clean up the reflect reality section. Summary changes. Mission balance, tone down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. May gently encourage it visually, doesn't reward it. Yeah, good. Floating tasks. How to find clearly. Labels and flex time, no duration. Playful physics. Yeah. Split into two concepts. Yeah. Yeah. Um. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good. And I think when a task timer ends, uh, that block time ends and it changes the shape of the block in the day. Okay, so once we've implemented that last little bit of information, what is the next step? I would love to get into moving some of these blocks around, typing some stuff, trying out and prototyping, but I'm okay to continue chatting if you want to continue defining the product. I always like to clear up any ambiguity. So, uh, if you have any questions that are new or anything like that, let me know. Or if you have any that you think are really important for this, then let me know and we'll cover them. Mm. Okay, great. Awesome. One question before we scope the prototype. The block property system is rich, 5 independent, interdependent properties with cascading interactions. For the first prototype, do you want to see full property system in play? Okay, get the fundamentals feeling right. A single chain with blocks, add blocks, remove blocks, resize by dragging dividers, playhead. Okay, so for prototype one, I'm fine doing a single day. I think that's great. It says a single chain with blocks. So just to be clear, the single chain should start empty. Um, you could put in 8 hours for sleep at the beginning, and the rest is flex time. Then you can add blocks. After you've added a block, you can remove a block. If you've added multiple blocks, you can remove multiple blocks. Resizing can be done by dragging dividers, but the size of the block isn't just defined by dragging dividers, it is defined by the time, the duration property. And that duration property is set when you add a block, and it's editable within the block. It's not just editable by resizing or dragging dividers. I don't like that as the only mechanism for sure. It runs into a bunch of problems because what if I want to resize just one block? And it's adjacent to another block? How do you know what my intention is? So the resize by dragging dividers is just about modifying the relationship between blocks. Resizing an actual block needs to come with another type of control. It could be an input on the duration, a drag on the duration. Like we have a duration value, and you could mouse click drag over it to size the block up and down. You could input the text. Maybe it's a separate handle on the window itself other than the divider. Maybe it's all of those things. Yeah, everything else you're saying on this feels good, but I also want to like be able to add the information to the blocks, and maybe I'm blowing the scope of the first prototype. So we don't necessarily need to add the task name, task description, task type, but I think we should have the time in there. What do you think? This Make sure, what? Make sure in the prototype plan that we're going with the name Weak Sauce. I want to see it up there and I want it to look really fun and dope. I know it's just a prototype, but we gotta have a little glitz and glam for the fans, okay? This is gonna burn up the old tokens. Okay, there we go. Has clear context and auto accept edits. Yeah. 3. You gotta just manually approve the edits, guys. I know it's nuts. No one's talking to you. Okay. Let's look. Updated plan. Got it. Prototype 1, single day chain starts empty, blocks with name duration, remove them. Resize in 2 ways. Playhead tracks real time. Orientation toggle from column versus row. Looks fun, not like a spreadsheet. I wonder if I should deploy to Opal on this. I think that's like going a bit far. No, I don't want to proceed. Hold on. Okay, don't get testy, Ken. Just take it easy. It's just trying to help. Don't punch your computer. Yeah, 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 yeah. Click a block to select it, then delete button or key or a small extra. Okay. Visual design, fun and dope. Got that right, pal. Um, take it easy. Okay, don't go too crazy on the colors. We don't want to like fuck people's eyes. We just want it to like look good, you know? Color is used intelligently and with purpose. Also, I'm not sure if we want to like deploy a prototype to OpenStack. Like, let's just prototype for now. We'll worry about deployment later. I'm fine to just like do this on like locally or whatever. I don't want to like get involved in configuring that website or whatever yet. Oh my God, I need a sandwich right now. I need it. Uh, Great. What's my sister saying? LinkedIn, you're a disaster. Okay, let's look at the prototype, see how it feels. So this is one day. Your day is wide open. 24-hour flex, 24 hours of flex time. So this label's a little weird. That's just letting you know. Okay. Oh, actually, let's bring TextMate over here. Can I do that? No, I don't have it set up like that. Okay, I will just talk into TextMate and it'll be fine. Okay. And then it's sandwich time, guys. But weak sauce V1 is up, which is pretty sweet. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. All right. So let's get it rolling. Okay. Your day is wide open, 24H flex is then repeated. So it says 24 hours of flex time underneath. It's a little weird. Add a block. Activity name. Adding blocks. Let's talk about what we see and what we don't see. So this is weird. Um, right now, the timer is kind of a weird format. It's like a text input, like 1H30M. That's okay, but I'd also like to suggest a format for them and have them be able to very quickly modify or input that format. I think text is all right, but it shouldn't be the only way that we add time to this. Like, what happens if I write 90 minutes like this? Yeah, doesn't work. So if I write 90 what? Okay. So what are the properties of this block? And also right now it's 9 p.m., 6 p.m., 3 p.m., 12 p.m. Okay. So 12 a.m., 12 p.m., 12 a.m., 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., 9 p.m. So the bottom one is 12 is midnight, and that's where it wraps around. So we're going top to bottom on the day. So it feels like I'm going down. It's kind of interesting that like I'm not sure if I like that, but that's okay. Let's add a block. Let's make it, let's call it serial living. What is wrong with me? I have a broken brain. I need to make a sandwich. Make a sandwich. And it needs to be 90. Okay, so how do I move this? Feels like garbage. It doesn't move at all. Okay, I'm gonna add another block. No, no, no. 17 hours. Okay, now they're over top of each other. Okay, so right now I add a block and it immediately adds to 12 a.m. and I don't seem to have any way of changing it. I don't have a way of dragging it or moving it. That doesn't seem to work. In addition, the next block just adds right next to that. So it's missing here is the ability to add when we want this, or at least the ability to drag it. I'm definitely not liking the border around this thing or how contained it feels right now. I kind of want this to be more like a free-form space where the day exists and maybe we can just build blocks and then they don't even sit within the chain. They're not automatically added into the chain. It's more like you just define blocks and then you drop them into a chain. So right off the bat, I'm really not vibing with how things are added or how they land or their inability to be moved around. If we make it vertical, the divider between blocks is kind of working, but again, since we didn't define any of the block properties, it's a little weird. I'm not loving the color scheme that's happening at all right now. It's like blood red and like pool table green on top of this like navy dark background. The aesthetic is definitely off. Also, don't really like this 12 a.m. at the start, going to 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 9 a.m. Uh, and then there's no midnight at the far side. That feels wrong too. And there's no sleep. I asked you to specify 8 hours of sleep in the start of this as one of the initial blocks, and it's not there. Yeah, and I think the playhead is just like a little bit intense right now. Also, with the horizontal version, the word make is already cut off. So, like, that's pretty much a fail if we can't even fit more than 4 characters into a whole hour or an hour and 42 minutes. That's not going to work at all. We need room for labels. So, the way that this works needs to be adjusted heavily. Where did that go? What the hell? Okay, so let's put this back into Claude, give it a little bit of advice, and then we're gonna wrap. And I'm gonna go eat a sandwich, and then I'm gonna come back and do a little bit more work, but maybe on a different project. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, you're not seeing the browser window that I want to share? I want to share the weak sauce window. It's weird that that's not up. It should be up. It's in OBS. What the hell? Oh, did I pause watching my own stream? Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we've got it up and it's starting. It's like a decent prototype, even though it sucks. Like it mostly sucks, but we're getting somewhere. And I think on our next project visit, what we'll do is we'll work on the interaction of the blocks against each other. And this is probably going to be in like approximately 1.5 sandwiches. I just like really need a sandwich, and then I'll come back to this. But um, what I'm doing right now is I'm moving closer and closer to the context window with Claude. And what's going to happen is as soon as I hit 200K here, the conversation compacts. And when that happens, the we just like start losing information. We're gonna lose stuff that's important. And so I've built this little timer in so that I know early, like even when I'm hitting like 100, this is a time where I'm going to start wrapping up this session and adding to all the documentation that I've built so that when I clear the context, we're not refactoring, refiguring things out. Everything's been written very clearly as a set of instructions so we can just like continue the project nice and fast. So as soon as it's done, spending a bunch of tokens here, I will use this command that I have built in called wrap. We'll wrap it up and then I'll go eat a sandwich and then I'll come back and we'll kick it off again. And that's just the way it's going to be. I had one user come in this room and then they left. And I don't blame them. It's just the way it goes. Okay, look at us. 134 out of 200K. Add a block. Okay, this actually like helps. Our activity name is going to be yoga. I don't like that interaction, but that's okay. Okay, so problems. Blocks need to be free form. Okay, so this is a huge mess right now. Okay, can't drag it. Okay. Hey, good job. Okay, this is what I want to do now is I want to wrap up this session for what we've done and make sure that all of the documentation is written, all of the instructions are written into the documentation. Everything that you've done is written very clearly, no vague instructions. Everything is explicit and will allow the next Claude to pick up this session and work without having any context. So it needs to know exactly what to do moving forward. That should be very clear. Once that's done, we're going to wrap up and move on. Okay. Some ideas based on looking at this prototype. It's actually so valuable to start prototyping at before you're built in a way to like just because you can imagine over and over again that hey thanks for saying that, that's really nice, I love it, thank you so much. um yeah, so like what I was going to say is it's incredibly valuable to start prototyping a little bit early because I've got an idea in my head of what I'm trying to communicate to Claude, and then I've tried to express that, but what I've actually expressed isn't necessarily what I've communicated to Claude. And Claude is trying to take what I've said and create its own interpretation. And we could go down that road very, very far. But if we don't start looking at it and creating something a little bit concrete, then we might miss each other in a really big way, which could mean we go way back in time. So what we're trying to do now is just like prototype little mini bits of this, write some rules, and then see how it feels, and then we'll come back to it. So, there's some obvious problems here. I can't do yoga before 6 a.m. That doesn't feel good. I'm not a morning person, so I need to be able to drag these blocks around. Um, yeah, anyway, that's just my thoughts. I'm going to write one more thought in here to TextMate, which is proving to be a very valuable tool for me in order to organize my thoughts. And so I'm just going to write in here. Um, Maybe the day that you're working in can be very wide so we can read all the labels, and it can take up half the space of weak sauce. And then the remaining 6 days can be sort of in narrower columns until they're expanded, where you have the ability to expand columns at will and make it wider. But right now, I'd love it if we gave the main column width so it sort of encourages focus on that without having to look at the entire week at the same volume or the same visual priority. Hey, I just wanted to say, Samarine Nayak 4241, thanks so much for being my first viewer and the first person who mentioned me. I'll remember you forever. Bless. Mm. Oh my goodness, my whisper flow butchered your name. I meant to say at Samarine Samir. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Thanks so much for being my first viewer and commenter. Big hearts, bro. Or gal. Thanks so much. Cool. Okay, so we got our session report. This is part of a wrap up command that I've written into the project architecture for Claude. It is I'm gonna share more of this later, but this is kind of like the idea of how we operate and what we do. And so when I tell Claude that we're wrapping up, because I'm getting close to my token limit, uh, oh, awesome. Thanks so much. I'm really stoked. I'll be starting to stream pretty often, and I'm going to try to document my process and make sure that I share what I'm doing. And it's really cool because Claude outputs these documents that I can just that summarize what I'm talking about, and I can give it all away. It's probably a lot better than listening to me ramble for 2 hours, but I appreciate that so much. Uh, okay, so when I instigate this wrap up command, what happens with Claude is that it updates all the documents across it. It tells me what documents were updated, and it knows how to go into those documents and just make one change at a time, rather than ingesting the entire document, trying to understand it, writing out the whole document again, which is just asking for changes that can't be tracked or remembered unless you're Rain Man or something like that. So it knows to go in and just update each one of these documents specifically. It tells me how it's updated them. A lot of this time that it does this, it writes kind of vague rules. So I like to review these, and then I will ask it to be a little bit more explicit uh, in its instructions for moving to the next session. So here we see a fresh session can be read, Claude MD, see the prototype issues, read the sessions MD, which is just a markdown document for anyone who doesn't know. And then it catalogs the sessions. So this way, it can use a command called grep to go in and just look at the last session. It doesn't have to read all of the sessions. It just gets a summary. And if we ever need to reference another session, like let's say we're on session 276, and I'm like, remember our first session when I said, it doesn't need to read everything. It can grep to that headline and then just read that specific context. So this was very valuable for me in being able to finalize a process, feel confident that everything that we said is going to be carried forward into the future, and then I can end a session and pick it up later. So again, we see here are the files that were created for this. I like to have a vision document. I like to have a Claude MD that exists within this folder. So I can write specific instructions for Claude, but for this project. There's a top level Claude that we see right here that's always loaded and it's very slim, 27 lines. The project Claude MD can be a lot more. We'll go back and optimize all these docs at a certain point. And the way we know when we need to optimize those docs is at the start of a session when I say, hey, let's pick this session up again. And suddenly it's already used 50,000 tokens. Like that's too much. So at that point, what it means is that the information that it's taking in to understand the session is bloated, and we need to just spend a day doing some spring cleaning. Okay, vision obviously is about the vision of the project itself. The questions are things that I've just thrown out as questions. Session summary I've explained. Design is essentially our design decisions. Architecture is the system that defines the project and how the project works. Ideas are just ideas that I have. Jargon. Okay, because I'm not super techie or codey, sometimes I have questions. Like the other day, it said, oh, this is going to have very few endpoints. I didn't know what an endpoint was. So, okay, I I was like, all right, I need you to tell me. And actually, Claude suggested making this. It said, let's make a jargon file. And I really appreciated that. So I've carried that forward into the next project. Security is something that we will get to eventually when it's needed. Please don't hack me. The debug log, again, when we're starting to like run a program here and I want to see the console in this, let's see, I want to see the console. So I go to more tools, developer tools. Right. So down here at a certain point, oh, let me remove TextMate really quick. So down here, I'll have console commands. And if there's any errors, those will go into the debug log. And that way we have an idea of what's been done, what's been fixed. Index.html, that's what we're looking at right here. This is the program, index.html, and we know that that's been created. It's been rewritten once, and it logs the changes. Finally, we created a Git repo. We will be using branches to test our different prototypes. And if anybody wants to know what the branches are, just let me know. We can cover that at some point. Finally, let's see. Projects index action updated. What changed? Yeah, so that's okay. So this is a global one, project index. And what this does is when I clear the context, it just adds this to the project index so that if that project list gets super long for some reason and I forget what I want to work on or I forget the name of a project, I can just ask. It will load the project index, which is right here, and it'll say, oh, these are the names of all your projects. And I can say, oh, okay, I want to work on that, like something specific. For example, weak sauce. Okay, let's see. Decisions. It's logged all these decisions. Oh my God, I'm too hungry and tired to go over all these. So I'm just going to blast past this. But essentially, if I was a better person, I would read all of these. Um, I'm just not doing it right now. I'm out. I'm out of time. Okay, I've also asked it to log what's learned, and I like to have it have the current state and how we pick up the next session. So, man, this was it crushed it. I approve. I approve. I approve this whole thing. What a good job, Claude. It took me so long to set up this system in 2026 terms. Like it took me a day and a half, which in old school terms, maybe that's really fast. I'm feeling really good about this. So now that I'm confident, we see all of these projects have been updated, or sorry, all of these documents have been updated, and it works for this project. So I'm super happy about that. We clear the context. We just finished clotting, and now it's time for a sandwich. Thank you, everybody. Especially big thanks to Samir, Samir Nayak 4241 for hopping in the stream and saying hello. Love you forever, bro. Thank you.